What is good, everybody? Welcome back to Real Fan Sports. My name is Zach, and I'm here with my partner, Nonpfixion. What's good, brother?
I'm doing good, man. How about yourself? How are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. We're going to go ahead and check out a video today. It's called The Greatest Motor Race Ever. And, of course, it's on Bathurst 1000. We've been checking out them a lot more recently. We watched a bunch last year, now covering a bunch more this year. And we're going to see what this is all about. I believe this is a specific year's race, if I remember correctly, at least if I read the description right. But let's see what it's all about. It's by Josh Ravel. He's a really funny guy. If y'all haven't already, go and hit that subscribe button. Link will be down below in the description. Let's get it.
Yeah, let's get it.
So a couple of weeks ago, I did something that I'm not normally too comfortable with nowadays. I logged onto Twitter because I was seeking an answer from the minds of racing fans around the world. I was on a quest to find out what was the greatest motor race in the whole history of history. Basically, any race, any category that made you go, boo! And because my channel is primarily based around Formula 1, a lot of the answers were
He's
indeed
so funny,
Formula
man.
1 Grand Prix. And that's totally fair. There have been some great races in its history. Not a lot, but there have been some. Some others, though, went beyond Formula 1 and offered up events from all over the globe. From IndyCar to sports cars to NASCAR, even to MotoGP. Everything was thrown in there, and everything was...
Before we get too far in it, you know what's one race that I really want us to do a video on, and I want to know if y'all want us to do one on, is Le Mans.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I actually didn't know much about it, and I just watched the Gran Turismo movie for the first time. Don't judge me, like literally yesterday. And oh my god, I loved it. I was obsessed instantly. So let us know if y'all want to check out some Le Mans video, and if y'all have any specific ones, send it to us in the comments or in the link in the description, the request.
a good suggestion. Nearly. But there were quite a lot of people suggesting one particular race that was none of those things.
Oh,
and it was one
2014.
that I wholeheartedly agreed with. It was a story of never giving up, of pure madness, of brilliance. It was a race that went on for 8 hours with a result that absolutely no one saw coming. Not even the people who won it. And don't let that 8-hour detail put you off, because this race had everything. So kick back for a moment, because I'm about to tell you the story of the greatest motor race of all time.
He's so good at making videos.
You can do that on our Facebook page or on our website, tbs.com.au.
It's like the little things that he does are
It's
so
October
amazing.
here in Bathurst, New South Wales, Australia. It's a couple hours outside of Sydney, but it's not really a
I wanna know
small
who does this
town.
version.
Sure, there are no large sports
Who does this
franchises.
what?
So, totally separate subject. Well, I'm trying to figure out who does this version of this song. I heard a couple YouTubers use it. I was like, I actually really like it.
Yeah.
Here, and ever since the end of the gold rush, this city's main export has been depression. But of course, what makes this place well known is the tourist road that's based on wildlife, although that place is known as something else to legions of people around the world. Mount Panorama. The twists and bends in this place have etched it into the history of motor racing. A cultural icon in Australia, the challenges this place presents make it a favourite amongst drivers, and highly regarded as one of the best racetracks in the world. The trek across the top of the mountain is electric, all the way from the cutting right down to Forest Elbow. The elevation changes are huge, the corners challenging, the speed crazy, and the consequences? Well...
Oh.
Alright, so basic gist of things, don't crash it, capiche? Of course, because all of this is a public road. This beast of a racetrack is only available 6 weekends in a year, so whatever events are run here are special. The most special out of the bunch is the Bathurst 1000. The 1000 referring to the kilometers run in the race, and the Bathurst referring to where the track is at.
Oh!
Now I get it.
Look, guys, I'm unsubscribing
It's so stupid.
just so I can subscribe again. This dude is so good at editing videos, man. I need a study.
This race always
yeah.
throws up something good. And it's not run with open wheelers or GT cars or stock cars or whatever. It's run with these things. This is the Supercars Championship, and I know what you're thinking. These aren't supercars. And you'd be right, but hey, I'll let you in on a little secret. It's just a name. Skipping over them minor details, however, this touring car series is often regarded as one of the best racing series in the world. And if none of these moments are capturing your interest, then I don't know what is gonna melt your butter. So you may as well just turn off this video and go to another channel. No, hang on, wait.
Do not turn to another channel.
The caliber of driving talent in this field is fierce. This ain't no cakewalk. These slippery, overpowered bastards are ferociously difficult to drive. And to watch them dance around Mount Panorama at full tilt in search of the greatest prize in Australian motor racing is a sight to behold.
That's a cool shot.
Yeah. What's the format for this race? The Great Race, as they call it? Well, it's simple. The race is set at 161 laps, which amounts to 1,000 kilometers of racing. Normally, this race would take about 6 hours, depending upon whether it rains, whether there is carnage, or if a tree falls on the track. But 6 hours solo in these cars is considered a form of torture, right up there with listening to someone spout Bill Cosby jokes. So for this race specifically, there are 2 drivers assigned to each car. You'd have the main driver, who would drive this car throughout the entire year, and then you'd have the other dude, who would be relishing the one weekend out of the year where he's not driving stunt cars at Movie World. So with 26 cars on the grid, 52 drivers.
Why do I feel like someone's not going to like that? We didn't say it. We didn't say it.
It was all Zach.
Others were all about to compete for eternal glory. On Sunday, 12th of October, they were all there on the grid. Well, almost all of them. But you see, one of them is missing.
Interesting.
It says smile.
It's at this point where you know that something has gone catastrophically wrong. On Saturday morning practice, the brakes on the number 2 Holden Racing Team Commodore had failed. With Warren Luff at the wheel, he slammed into another car and threw them both into the barriers. The damage to the red machine was substantial, so even though they had a day to repair it, this crash knocked them out of the race before it even began. This was no doubt annoying to the car's main driver, Garth Tander. Tander had won this race previously 3 times, but he also knows what this mountain is like when it doesn't like you back. But hey, at least the other car would not be starting the race either, right? Well, you would think that, but that car belonged to the Red Bull Racing crew, and they are the benchmark of the field. And it is just as well they repaired it, because that was the 888 car, which was...
They got that money.
Yeah, Red Bull flying, man. They were able to get a new car, lickety split. Exactly. Yeah, that's actually kind of crazy. Okay, all right, so the story's unfolding now.
The most popular man on the grid, the one and only Craig Lowndes. Lowndes is a legend of Australian motorsport, and from 1996 to 2018, he won this race 7 times, and with twice with Stephen Richards, who he just so happened to be partnering up with that weekend. They were one of the favourites heading into the weekend, but probably not the favourite. Instead, the favourite was probably the man in the other Red Bull car, the number 1 car, the defending Supercars champion, Jamie Whincup. This dude was meticulous. He was dominant. Perhaps more fittingly, he was just f***ing fast. Whincup was on course to win the Supercars Championship for the 6th time, and was already a 4-time winner of the Bathurst 1000, last winning it with Paul Dumbrell, and they would pair up again to win it all this weekend. They would be doing it the hard way though, since Whincup made the noble mistake of crashing out in qualifying. This on-the-go automotive plastic surgery brought out the red flag, and his best time was deleted. And because he couldn't set another time, it put him right down to the back of the grid. But of course, that's no biggie. You don't have to be first in qualifying to win this race, and he wasn't the only one to butcher his qualifying either. The number 55 car of David Reynolds and resident Lord Voldemort, Dean Canto, had also crashed in qualifying.
What is wrong with this dude?
He said resident Lord Voldemort because he's bald. That's so wrong. I like this. That's hella funny, actually.
And behind both of them, stone motherless last, was the number 6 car of Chaz Mostert and Paul Morris. Now, while Reynolds and Canto were a dark horse for this race, Mostert and Morris kinda were.
I wonder if he has the same thing that the Vikings ex-quarterback has.
Fast, but Morris was on the way out. No one really gave him a chance, so we're not going to talk about them anymore. For the time being. Up the front, meanwhile, sat Shane van Gisbergen. Just the day prior, he set a lap time that was miles faster than anyone else in the top 10 qualifying shootout that is forever a highlight of the Bathurst weekend, where 10 drivers go for broke in front of 200,000 wasted Holden and Ford fans on what this weekend ought to be dubbed Bogan Christmas. Despite looking like a 6'4"
We've heard that term before. That's awesome.
Is one of the best drivers in the entire world, and that is in no way an exaggeration. Put him in anything, and he will make it dance. But all that was just qualifying. The race lay ahead,
He'll
and it
make
was
it
the
dance.
race that mattered. The guy sitting next to him in the Ford Falcon, he knows all about it because he started second last year as well, and then he went on to win the race. He knew how to win this race because this guy was Mark Winterbottom. Yeah, that is his name. But once the lights went out and the race started, we were thrown
So
a bit of a
unnecessary.
curveball.
Yes,
Both these guys got burnt off the line by the Volvo of Scott McLaughlin. The thought of a Volvo burning a Chevy or a Ford off the line is laughable, but this thing, with current IndyCar ace Scotty Mack at the wheel, was a goddamn rocket that year. It was an amazing start, as it was too for Jamie Whincup, who was hustling that #1 car up the field. Get out of the way, peasants! I am the champion! I am the world! Did he just jump the start? I mean, Mans was leaving the grid before the other guys had their hands off their junk. Well, the stewards thought so too. His start was under investigation while he ran around for a few laps, picking people off one by one. A few laps went by and then the decision came down.
Oh, they're going to give him a
was
punishment?
legit. He just so happened to time it absolutely perfectly. But of course, everything a Red Bull car does is sus.
Oh, they said.
So the race.
So it was found legit that he just had the jump. If those of y'all that watch this also watch the NFL, there's also another guy that accordingly just times the jump very good for the Kansas City Chiefs, right tackle. You know,
he's also the most penalized in the NFL too.
Yeah, well.
Went on, and throughout the pack, there were some great battles going on. It might be 161 laps, but all those laps are hard fought for. You have got to position yourself absolutely perfectly for whatever circumstance may come around the corner. This is Bathurst after all, and it didn't take long before it started to throw up some weird stuff. The first victim, the number 14, Holden Commodore. These guys were having a ball earlier this weekend, with provisional pole position for Fabian Coulthard and a potential hair solution for Luke Yordan. But this being Bathurst, it put up the car, or pace car for all you North American lovelies. He went down a lap, but the wasn't quite finished with them yet, as they were about to encounter one of the most vicious obstacles that this place can throw at you. It was, of course...
Oh,
Skippy.
not the ruse!
The fight bout of Holden versus Rue resulted in a disqualification against the Holden by virtue of the fact that it kinda killed its opponent. But I mean, hey, chill, don't feel too bad for the Rue. They got like 1,000 of these things in the back. And hey, at least he did go down swinging, because it did damage the car, forcing them into the pit lane and out of contention. And a lap down, this brought out the pace car again, and then more weird happened.
Oh, jeez.
It wasn't bad enough they started from last, but Paul the Dude Morris decided to destroy their race here by slamming into the wall at turn 2. It sucks really for the car's main driver, Chaz Mostert, a dude who is proving to be
so it wasn't even his main driver
and one
that
of the
did it.
best young
Oh,
talents in
that's
Australia today. He had already become something of a cult.
I wonder if you will automatically like lose your job as that. Like is that like kind of like off, you do something like that, the second turn, you're coming in just for a certain amount of time to allow your primary driver to take a quick rest, bathroom break, whatever it may be, and then you cause a crash that takes you out the race, and it looks like, from what he's explaining at least, it looks like it was a like self incident. It wasn't because of somebody else or something like that. Do you think that's like automatic? You're off the team type of situation?
It could be, especially if you've had some situations before. But I mean, also, then are there any other good quality racers to take his position?
Take his spot too.
Guess,
yeah,
that might be the big question.
Yeah, it's probably the politics of the racing world of
there's nobody good enough, just to be a backup. You're like, we'll take a flyer on this one.
Yeah.
Hero through being able to win in what was pretty much his first ever race in a V8 supercar last year. Here he is today in 2014 with the factory Ford team as one of the fastest drivers on the grid. Meanwhile, his teammate was one of the slowest drivers around today. Despite having a long and decently successful career and being handy behind the wheel before the advent of color TV, it had been a long time since he had tasted success at this level. And here he was, stuck in the wall in his last attempt at the race and just completely killed their chances. To be fair though, it wasn't all down to him, because at that corner, this was happening. The track was being torn up by the cars and by the heat that day, because, I mean, this is Australia after all. But then things got weirder, because
upside down.
This is Australia after all.
Look, guys, this is gonna be a long video, and it's because we like to talk too much and we're too easily distracted by these little things that Josh Neville does. Revel. This is hilarious to me.
But then things got weirder.
Yeah,
because for some ungodly reason, while still under safety car conditions, Dale Wood in the number 21 car was now stopped at the top of the mountain with the car that was about 3 yards shorter than what it started out as. Must have been a big-ass kangaroo to pull that stuff, unless it wasn't a kangaroo. Maybe he had done something stupid like, I don't know, slam into the back of his own teammate. Needless to say, this threw him out of the race, leaving him stranded at the top of the mountain amongst some of the more interesting folk of supercars lore. Elsewhere on the circuit, the medical car heard this and shed its lights as a mark of respect, or maybe as an act of protest for what was to lay ahead. The race got back underway and we were up and running, but not for long. For the second time today,
a lot of crashes right at the same spot. So man, maybe it really was because of that pavement mistake. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I said the second time. The first time it happened was 30 laps ago, when Cam Waters went into the corner and thought, nah, you could take an early shower, mate. That had already damaged their car badly, and now they'd done it all over again. Of course, it sucked for the car's regular driver, James Moffat, but it also sucked for the person in the car at the time, Taz Douglas. He was a quick dude, but could just never land a seat in the sport, and had just recovered from Burkitt lymphoma a couple of years prior. This just added another shattered dream for him, and with the damage to the car, that was pretty much game over. Ditto 2 for Scott Pye, who decided to tear half his car off going through turn 2. The pace car was out again, which
turn
gave
2 is
time for them
wicked,
to repair
man.
their cars, sort of, and to clean the racetrack too, where it seems as though they either drafted in Chase Carey or the bastard love child of Lee Marvin and a bottle of Jack Daniels to pick bits of Datsun off the track. By now, however, it was clear that the surface of the track which was causing these accidents was bad, like 1984 Dallas Grand Prix bad. So they had a choice. They could just let the drivers soldier on and just deal with it like real drivers and all that other macho bull, or they could do what they eventually elected to do and stop the race. This was only the third time in the history of Bathurst that the race had been red flagged, although unlike the
I mean, I guess that's a pretty fair way to go about it. I mean, I'm sure like he's joking about with like the macho thing where it's like, you know, you play the track, especially in a race like this, you know, rain, sleet or snow, don't matter. You race the race. So it's like, you just got to know what's out there and like what you have to do in order to avoid it. You know, you might have to slow down. That way you can take a different angle at that turn and whatnot. So, I mean, what is y'all's thoughts as like long-term Bathurst fans? Like, did y'all agree with the decision to stop it and allow, you know, the best drivers and, you know, the best, you know, mechanics and all that to show their best in the best circumstances? Or do y'all disagree and think that they should have just dealt with it and manage?
I feel like it in that situation, because it's something that's under no one's control, that it doesn't matter how good the drivers are, how good the mechanics are. Anybody hitting that corner on the second turn, it's most likely it's going to happen to them eventually. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because then if you lose your stars of the race because of that, then you know you're pissed. Your ratings kind of tank a little bit. So
first two times, this race would get underway again, but this business of repairing the road would not be a quick fix. It would be over an hour before all this would be resolved, in which time the team set to work.
I'm just letting y'all know that's really quick compared to where I live out in New Orleans. Man. Roads be taking years to get fixed.
On repairing their cars, modifying the cars, doing some taping and other mafia things
to their cars. Too. They're able to do some quick fixes during this hour.
So that they would be ready for the restart. Eventually, the quick solution was done, the pace car set off, and the race was about to resume. Sure, the order was jumbled up thanks to pit stops and lap cars and other bits of witchcraft, but the race would get back underway for about 3 seconds.
Oh, problem for Stephen Johnson rotated now. Could this day get any worse?
Get any worse? Nah, not for him. He was out of the race. That's about as bad as you can get. For some others, though, it could get worse. Take the number 1 of Jamie Whincup, for example. Sure, the opening laps were unbelievable. Some of the best drives that this mountain had ever seen. But then his mind went blah blah and cannoned into the side of Todd Kelly's Nissan and would send him to the pit lane with damage. All of this put Whincup a lap down. The only cream of comfort they had was that they knew there would be another pace car, and that when that happened, they were gonna get their lap back. So no real panic, but they were going to require some luck.
Oh, black flag car 1.
Well, that doesn't help. Meanwhile, up the front, the likes of McLaughlin and Van Gisbergen are establishing themselves as the favourites. But some others were doing well. Voldemort was doing a stirring job in the Bottle O Falcon, and the number 5 entrant of Winterbottom and Steve Owen is keeping touch, as was the Triple 8 of Craig Lowndes. The Triple 2 of Nick Percat and Oliver Gavin are doing good too, way out driving the machinery they were in. The number 16 car of Scott Pye and Ash Walsh was somehow keeping in there, with a car that was held together with sticky tape and the mortgages of half the crew. And 1 lap later, there was even more missing off the car.
Oh.
I'm no mechanic, But I don't think a car is meant to look like that. And after having happened at a part of the track where the cars reach 300 kilometers an hour,
Oh,
Mr. Pie
shit.
almost certainly his undercrackers. But with the stricken car laying on the side of the track, guess what that meant? Yes, Dora the Explorer, another safety car. Is this the norm at Bathurst?
God, how long did this
track
Bathurst
has
race
absolutely
last?
No mercy whatsoever. Is it the norm to drift this close
That's
to
a
the
good
wall
question.
and emerge unharmed? I mean, not quite, but it was too cool not to put in this video. Up the front,
That
the
was pretty
33
sick, I'm not
kept on
gonna lie.
battling
That
the
was pretty
97.
sick.
Both are now being driven by the co-drivers, but they are still playing for keeps. The racing is spectacular, because in a place like this, it always is. The bottle entry of Reynolds and Canto were in a great position via strategy, probably the best of them all. The last thing they needed was another safety car. But that's exactly what they would get.
Damn.
Jeez.
Well, that's not ideal.
not heavy,
Of course, we got back underway again, and for a while,
Hey, look, I'm just gonna put this out there for any Australians that come and join us during our NFL games, and y'all start complaining about these little yellow laundry things coming about like this, okay? All right, I don't want to hear nothing. I want to hear nothing. All right, look at the safety cars on this one. I'm just kidding.
Well, not much happened up front, but behind, a lot was happening. Remember that number 14 car that hit a kangaroo and went for a trip to the beach? They were back on the lead lap. Remember that 360
Oh, wow.
Nissan who hit the wall twice? They're back on the lead lap. Remember
Wow.
Jamie Whincup and the number 1 Red Bull Commodore who went through hell and creation despite his unbelievable driving? He was back on the lead lap. The number 6 of Chas Mostert was also up there. Somehow, it seems that anyone whose race was over 3 laps ago was back in the game. That's how this race be sometimes. That's why it's so
Wow.
great. The teams began to settle into the groove. The strategies were starting to play out, and now they were about to bring their drivers in for the final push to the line.
So
Everyone
those
knew
pace
there was
cars
going to
really
be another
benefited them.
safety car.
Those pace cars really benefit them in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, it seems that way. I mean, and you know, going back to like what he said earlier of, you know, some people are going to hate it and some people are going to love it. But, you know, whenever we watch videos and we hear the term, this is Bathurst, it's like, you know, this
Yeah.
might not be the best version of it, but this is Bathurst because of the craziness, the unexpectancy, the cover behind, the different things that allows everybody to have a chance again. It's like, it might not have been the most pretty, most enjoyable race, but it's a story that's unfolding. And you know, people
Very
don't like
true.
that in sports. They
Very
want to
true.
just see the best of the best, be at the best of the best at all times, but it's just not realistic. It's
Although nobody quite knew when. Although the Volvo of Robert Dahlgren made it quite easy to guess when he slammed into the wall and ended their
Damn.
race. The pit
That's
stops
tough.
were still on though. It is the logical thing to do in that moment. It was still a complete free-for-all as to what was going to happen for the last 40 laps. Although, unfortunately for some, they wouldn't even see that out.
Damn.
In the cruelest twist of fortune, the Bottle Falcon ground to a halt when the alternator decided not to alternate stuff anymore. After being favorites on strategy, they were out. Over electricity.
Voldemort.
That's the thing about this race. Every year there will be favorites.
Wait,
but a lot of
wait,
the
what did
time,
that just say? Oh, the deserves better. Okay. Oh, now you want to be nice to Voldemort after
Yeah, I
just
was like-
roasting him for the last 20 minutes.
yeah, there will be favorites. But a lot of the time, they'll end up on the side of the road, or in a wall, or back in the garage. But you never quite know when it will happen, or who to. You just gotta keep digging, try your luck, hope you can make it to the end. Nothing is guaranteed here. It ain't over till it's over. You just gotta stay out of trouble. Because eventually, at this place, it's gonna find you.
Yeah.
Ooh.
After dominating the race early on, Scott McLaughlin crashed into the wall with 40 laps to go, running wide onto the marbles and crashing into the same place that his teammate did. He was out there because Shane Van Gisbergen was beginning to charge, and when the race resumed after safety car 509, he continued to do so. He was passing with authority, and it seemed that now he was odds-on favorite to win. There was still quite a lot to play out, but he was a freaking rocket out there. He climbed past all of them and was now leading the race. Down the pack, meanwhile, everything was happening. There were drivers being told to save fuel. There were drivers being told to go for broke. There was jostling for position everywhere, and everyone wanted a shot. There was still one more pit stop left for everyone, pace car or not. Paul Dumbrell almost binned car number 1, and James Moffat almost minced car 360 as well. The
Ooh, that
battle
was
was
close.
heating up, and everyone
yeah.
wanted a piece. Although some people were perhaps a little bit too vigorous.
Slower than his best time. Look at this up the
Uh-oh.
inside.
There we go.
Oh, there it is.
A massive shot at turn
Jeez.
2 again.
Okay, that was too much of a scent. Maz was trying to pass from Auckland, New Zealand from back there. The marshals attended to the number 4 Mercedes of Lee Holdsworth.
Yeah, he
whilst
was doing a
Russell
little bit too
Ingall,
much.
the man who sent
He's
it,
trying to jump three places right there.
Let me go.
He said, "Let me go."
Surprise, surprise, the pace
Not
car
the-
was out again. The
dun-
drivability of a car on its roof not being too great. It came in again before going out again with 13 laps to go when the 23 car was once again found itself parked on the side of the road. What this meant was that the final round of pit stops were about to be dealt. This was it, the final push to the line. However, not everyone came in for the pit stop. Some did stay out. However, the leader of the race, Shane van Gisbergen, did come into the pit lane. It was a standard pit stop. Thought it would feel
I
good
wonder
to
if
the
that's going to
finish.
be a
But
risk.
of course, there were a lot of pit stops in this race. There is a reason why I brought this one up.
Oh,
When you stall in one of these things, normally you just start the thing up again and roar away. But for Shane, his starter motor had failed, and it wouldn't be repaired again for another 10 minutes, by which time he had been thrown 3 laps down and out of the race. Another favorite for the race, gone.
my
And again,
gosh.
over electricity. For those that had survived, for now, it was getting interesting. When the race resumed, it was Winterbottom leading Whincup. But how the hell did that happen? Wasn't Whincup leading Winter? Oh, I see. Well, that was freaking random. And a complete bottle job. This ain't no time for beach shenanigans, you freaking melt. Actually, now's a good time to talk about these two guys. Not only did they not make a pit stop, but for a while now, they had been intense rivals. They battled for victory last year. They locked horns at stages this year. And now here they are, 8 laps from the end, and eternal glory at stake. They were now ahead of Lowndes and Mostert, both of whom did make a pit stop. But pit stop or not, they were all racing hard. Everywhere they would go, they would be right out sideways. There was everything to play for, and heading into the last corner on that lap, Whincup dived down the inside and took the lead from Winterbottom. There's absolutely nothing in it. Any one of these guys can win, just so long as they can keep themselves composed.
Oh, don't be foreshadowing right now. Don't be foreshadowing. Oh my gosh.
There you go.
They did not. The spin ruined.
I know we got 5 minutes left. We stopped a lot, man. The storytelling by this dude is absolutely phenomenal. Is absolutely phenomenal. It's like a movie. We're watching a movie right now with his storytelling. This is
When
amazing.
the race for Winterbottom and Lowndes, Frosty went down the pack and began to conserve fuel just to make it to the line, whilst Lowndes received a drive-through penalty for trying to send Frosty into the Shadow Realm. 2 more crowd favourites taken out of the race in the blink of an eye, which meant that up front, it was Whincup leading from Mostert.
So they gave him a
the
penalty?
fact that this was happening was nothing short of incredible.
Yeah,
These 2 guys had started the race.
I think that happened in the race we saw last year. That one of the races got a penalty for something similar to that. It wasn't
Similar to
like a
that.
full- yeah. Shoot, it wasn't like a full crash, but he definitely altered another car and then tried to cut through, but he didn't stop. So I think that did happen.
From the very back of the grid. One had been in the wall, one had been a lap down, and yet here they were, battling for victory. Or at least it seemed that way. Whincup began to etch out a bit of a gap, because, I mean, he is the class of the field. It was kind of like watching Max Verstappen nowadays, watching a Red Bull car shrink into the distance, and knowing that there was little hope in pursuing them. With 3 laps to go, they were home and dry. Whincup and Dumbrell were almost a lock for Bathurst glory in 2014. And then a question began to emerge. How much fuel does he have? He was still pushing like hell, but his crew kept on repeating the same message over and over again. Save
He
fuel.
skipped
The problem for him was that while they were telling him to save fuel, Mostert was not saving fuel. He didn't need to. They made that pit stop. They were good. Whincup did not. And Mozzie was starting to draw closer and closer and closer. Whincup continued to ignore calls from the pits, begging him to save fuel. They relayed to him that with this pace, they were not going to make it to the finish. With a lap and a half left, Whincup only had 1 lap of fuel left, and the gap was getting visibly narrower. When they started lap 161, Mostert was right there.
He's right there. Jake, show me a Coke.
You're about to be on fumes.
The last lap, the 8th hour of the Bathurst 1000. And this
8
is what it
hours.
came down to. The kid versus the goat. There is no greater
You just gotta
challenge,
try
but
and
he
shadow
didn't care. A win was right there for the taking, and he was all over the reigning champion. Up and down the mountain,
You gotta
he
take
looked
away
everywhere
angles.
he could, while Whincup desperately tried to save as much fuel as he could. The crowd were on their feet and on edge. Holden versus Ford, the age-old rivalry. Heading down the hill,
Yeah.
Mostert only needed 1 chance.
Oh, does he get it? Oh, no. Wow.
What a drive.
Not taking that
What
risk on
a
not having the gas.
drive. This was a race for the
can't push
ages.
it.
For Mostert, it was one of the
'Cause
great
look, he's
Bathurst
pushing it,
drives.
he's
And for
taking
Paul
off.
Morris,
He's gone.
Yeah, it's a wrap.
Paul Morris to win on his 22nd and last attempt at the Great Race. To win
Wow, and he crashed earlier.
Yeah.
Wow. His last race.
all was a complete fairy tale. They crossed the line to win the 2014 Bathurst 1000. And wait, wow, what? Is that the 360?
Wait, hold up. This is a video we watched earlier on. This was this race.
Mm-hmm. I was starting to realize that too.
You started. I didn't realize till just now. Oh my god. Oh my god.
When they showed the two cars and he was trying to get behind him, I was like, is that the race we just saw in the other video? Like
Yeah,
we were talking.
So like the video y'all are seeing that y'all seeing now, the video we're talking about was posted about maybe a month or two ago. So like, oh my god, we just watched it an hour and a half ago. Wow, this puts a lot of that into perspective.
Yeah, it does. It definitely explains a lot more because they were dropping like flies. Now we understand why.
Yeah, it makes so much more sense.
Trying to save that gas at the end, it just cost them. It cost them. But even then, how did this guy get there? Because what happened to the other car? They just ran out of gas.
Let's see.
Is that the 360 Nissan finishing in second place? The car that got whacked twice and went down a lap? They finished second? Yes, they did. Thanks to Windcup completely running out of fuel before the end of the lap. He lost positions to the 360 Nissan, the 222 Holden, and the number 9 Mercedes. Windcup crossed the line to take position 5, although that was little consolation for his co-driver.
What do you want from me? Ooh, what do you want from me? Ooh, you know it's been tough for me.
My boy's sitting back there like,
oh my goodness.
Like I'm in agony.
But for however much he was mocked for this, the reality was this. Had he saved enough to make it to the end, he likely wouldn't have won anyway. By doing this, at least they had a fighting chance. There's a term they have for that. It's, racing. And ultimately, this race had that in spades. To come from last on the grid, to be buried in the tire wall, to then drag their car back into contention, to compete against and beat the best in the business in what is the Great Race, is something almost out of a Hollywood script. For Chaz Mostert, it brought about the arrival of a truly amazing talent. For Paul Morris, it was a fitting end to it all. After 22 years of pain, he finally got his dub on his final attempt at the mountain. They only led one lap, but it was the one that counted most. And then you think about the story of Moffat and Douglas, buried in the wall twice, yet never gave up. And they finished second despite missing half their car. And the 222 of Nick Percat and Oliver Gavin to finish third in that machinery was stellar as well. It's hard to put this race into words really, because it kind of had everything. I mean, this is racing. This is stuff we love to see. In my humble up opinion, this is without question or shadow of doubt the greatest motor race of all time. Or at the very least, it was better than Spa 2021. Although that's a low freaking bar.
He's funny.
First off, I already know that there's going to be possibly some comments that come into this video early on of us like talking crap about the guy that wrecked. Does that cause you to get fired, lose your job? And then it turns out that this is that guy's last race, and due to all the chaos and stuff that goes on, he ends up getting his first ever Bathurst win regardless of that, and just everything that happened. It's just like, man, this is like truly one. Again, subscribe to Josh Revel if you haven't done it already. I just really just don't know what you're doing, because his storytelling is amazing. This guy has me wanting to rewatch it again by myself now that I know how it outcome to sit back and just like put together all the puzzle pieces.
The pieces, yeah. I mean, I still think what your question about, him crashing and being the backup driver does that cause him to be able to lose his job a lot easier? That's a valid question. That's a very valid question. From my point of view. So if anybody has a problem with that, it's a valid question.
Yeah, take it up with Nod.
Come on. But no, that was beside the storytelling, he did an excellent job of telling the story. But visually, the way he put it together and laid it out, it was like almost perfect the way he did it, and just told the story very well.
The foreshadowing and all that stuff too.
Really, really good at that writing.
You could tell he's an English major for sure. He's for sure.
I'd be surprised if he wasn't. He's a history major. He's history.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. Look, this was amazing, and I guess the question needs to be asked. We asked in the beginning of the video: is this the greatest motor race ever? I'm low-key surprised that I haven't heard more about this, and this hasn't been like some type of movie or something like that. Like maybe just because Josh sold it as well as what he did, but like this story is crazy from, you know, crashing out during qualifiers, being bottom of the league, having your partner crash out, going down to the final lap, having a guy run out of gas because he took the risk to get there, because it's like he said, it's racing, and he knew that if he would have took a pit stop, he probably falls too far behind. So it's like, you know what, sometimes you just got to go out there and risk it for the biscuit, and just
try. You gotta try.
And you got to try. This honestly, man, this might be one of my favorite reactions to a Bathurst race that we've done so far, and it is a long video. So guys, if y'all are here,
thank you.
Put some yellow hearts in the chat if y'all are still here, in the comments if you're still here at the end of this video. This has been amazing. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for checking us out. Make sure y'all hit that like button, that subscribe button, all that good stuff. And like I said, make sure y'all go and subscribe to Josh Revel. Appreciate you guys. Go ahead.
If you are subscribed to this channel, we would like to say thank you for helping us get over 20,000 subscribers and on our way to 25. That's hopefully we can get to the year goal. That's what we aim for. But we thank you. We appreciate you. We love you guys. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Cheers.
Peace out, y'all.